right now. Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Good evening, everyone. Bob Pompeani with you, riding solo tonight, right here on KDKA+. It's the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. So I want to hear from you at 412-575-2600. Hit me up on Twitter. It's at KDPomp. Battling a little bit of a raspy voice, so if you call, you'll be helping me out. I would appreciate it. And let's talk about some of the stuff going on. Steelers at the halfway point. They'll begin next week against Washington, second half of the season, and it's a Commanders team that looks pretty good. They won again today. They're 7-2, and Jaden Daniels looks nonplussed, which is to say you really can't rattle that kid. He's been outstanding so far. He doesn't have all that many weapons when you look at it outside of Terry McLaurin, yet they get the job done down there, and they're doing a pretty good job in Washington. So that won't be easy. You got 6 division games that follow, and the Ravens look really good today, as you saw once again offensively. Now, their defense has had some issues. And the Ravens are a team that can be beat defensively, I think, if you go down the field. So that's going to be quite a couple of games coming up here after the Washington game. It is Baltimore coming here. I've got to believe that the NFL, even though, believe me, we want that game to remain on KDKA because that's where it's scheduled to be right now. It could be flexed into a night game on a Sunday night. But then later, there's another game. It's a Saturday game in Baltimore. So there are going to be a lot of division games right off the bat, and that'll determine how this division goes right now. But the Steelers are looking pretty good. I'd like to get your assessment, what you think of them so far through 8 weeks of this season for them. Also, going to spend a lot of time talking about Pitt and Penn State. 2 bad situations yesterday, especially Pitt. They were a team that you would have thought would, put up a better fight than they did down at SMU. SMU's a good team, and that Pony Express they used to have down there back in the day, they got some guys who can run. They're fast. They do a lot of good things. And as a result, they ran away from Pitt. It was 48-11 at one point, final 48-25. It did not matter. Pitt, first-ranked team they've placed, and it was a dud. That's it. They haven't faced many. So the bottom line with them is it was set up for them to do so. They had a 10-0 lead, and then all of a sudden things changed. They could not score an offensive touchdown right before halftime. A big interception by the Buckeyes denied them of what looked like sure points. And then when they had first and goal from the 1-yard line, they failed on 4 straight attempts. So James Franklin was hearing it from the crowd, although a lot of people believe that he should remain. A lot of people believe he should be fired. What do you say? 412-575-2600. That's the number to call, so we'll throw those topics open to you. Call right now, air your opinions, because this is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call, 7 nights a week right here on KDKA+, and we'll be right back. Our GMC Sierra tweet of the night comes from the Pirates, who congratulate Jared Triolo for winning a Gold Glove. He's been outstanding, but you got to get an average up above 216, which is where he was. A lot of the Pirates couldn't hit this year. But for his work in the field, a utility Gold Glove for Jared Triolo. Very good thing for him to achieve. And when you put him at second, third, wherever you put him, he always is going to come up with the routine plays and sometimes the spectacular plays as well. All right, we have some tweets at KD Pomp. You can hit me up there. If you don't call tonight, you want to get in that way, it's fine. Andrew, on the topic of Jared Triolo, says this is about as significant as Eric Carlson winning the Norris Trophy on a tanking Sharks team. And then you get this one, said Jared Triolo is an outstanding young player. Hopefully he can get his average up. By Frank G, who sends that in. If you have a tweet, send it our way, and if I get time, I'd like to read it for you tonight. Meantime, let's get to the lines, and we'll begin with Carl in North Huntington. What's up, Carl? How are you?
Hey, good, Bob. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks.
Okay. Hey, Bob, wanted to talk about the Steelers possibly using Justin Fields with some packages, especially in the red zone. If you noticed the last game, they were inside the 10-yard line 3 times and came away with field goals. They had 1 offensive touchdown. I think if they mixed it up and put, Justin Fields has 5 running touchdowns. Yep. I looked it up. He has 19 in the NFL. I think it would be something to put some packages in there with Justin Fields to catch the teams off guard. See what you have to say about that.
I would agree. Carl, it's a good point, and I think tonight we're going to address that on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown, 11:35 on KDKA. he's too talented not to utilize in some capacity. And I'm not saying it's a rotation with Russell Wilson, but it has to be something in there that you don't necessarily expect, and why not? Make it tough on opposing defensive coordinators when you have an opportunity. It's a very good point. Let's go out to J.D. in Beaver County. What's up, J.D.? How are you?
Okay, thanks for taking my call, Bob. Listen, when you see Ricky Walsh, tell him my three best buddies really want to thank him. He gave out a parlay over the weekend, and I told him, wear it on
What was the parlay?
Well, I told him, go get your Social Security checks, cash them all, and bet this parlay. I said, it's not the parlay of the week or the parlay of the month, but the parlay of the year, Rich gave us. He said, bet Pitt and Penn State. So I told him, make sure you bet Ohio State and SMU. And they all did, so they're all happy.
Actually, I was up at radio yesterday, and I talked to Donnie Football, and I told him I have a terrible feeling, so much so that I'm going to bet the parlay of Ohio State and SMU. So I thought the opposite, and yeah, I mean, first of all, SMU's a much better team than what people think of them. You haven't seen them in a while, but they're very fast. They even won a game making 6 turnovers last week against Duke. And as far as Penn State, just until they get over that hurdle, it's hard for me to think they ever will. And that leads us to James Franklin. A lot of people, I think, are overreacting to some degree. I understand why people believe they should fire him. Okay, fine. He hasn't won big games. There's no question about that. He's 1-10 against Ohio State. If you look at since 2023, Jeremiah Miller, our producer, put this together. They're 28-1 against teams not named Ohio State and Michigan. So he wins games, just not enough of the marquee games. Now, having said that, they still have an opportunity in the Big Ten to get to this football playoff. And if they do, I'm wondering if people will change their minds. If they win their last 4 games and they won't play a ranked opponent, Pitt will, so I think it's going to be tougher on Pitt. But if Penn State wins those games, and you may say, well, it's Purdue, it's Washington, it's all these teams they should beat. Fine. But they win those games. And isn't that part of what you're supposed to do as a head coach? Jim Harbaugh went through this at Michigan for years. Ryan Day, if he had lost yesterday, was going to go through this at Ohio State, winning some of these games that people expect you to win. It's a tough situation to be in sometimes, but that comes with that job in those marquee programs. Let's go to Michael in Beaver Falls. Hey, Michael, how are you?
Hey, Bob. How you doing tonight?
Good. What's up, man?
Doing pretty good for having a sore thriller, boss.
I'm trying the best I can.
Get some cough drop. You know what? I sure am glad the Steelers had a chance to rest. I don't think Washington really has a good chance to win against my Steelers in the next game. But when they play the Ravens, I really, truly believe the Steelers need to come up with some trick plays. Don't make it so obvious on what the heck they're going to do. And I think we can still beat the Ravens, boss.
Well, I think they're going to be involved in all these games. Typically, the Steelers will play tight games. Washington's kind of a different situation to me. Not used to watching. I've watched enough Jaden Daniels to respect what he's done. But I think with the kind of edge rushers they have, they're going to put some pressure on him that he may not have seen before. Pretty special what they've been able to do, but they haven't seen a defense like the Steelers. So I'll be curious how that works. Also for the Steelers, they got to continue to do the play-action game. Washington can be beat down the field. They've had problems with that so far this season in select games, but they can be beaten. And if you run the ball with Najee Harris the way he's running the ball, then I think that opens that up. And that's why Russell Wilson is a good guy to have in there right now. Mike Tomlin hit that right on the money at the right time. A lot of people wondered about why he would insert him after a 4-2 start by Justin Fields. He wanted to see a little bit more from the offense, and this, quite frankly, was what they had in mind when they signed or brought him in here and to begin with Russell Wilson. All right, let's go back to the Lions. We got Theo in Murraysville. What's up, Theo? How are you?
Hey, Bob. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I kind of commend the Penn State group for pushing for more than just being a good team. They want to be a great team and nothing but excellence. And I kind of feel that the Pittsburgh Steelers have let that go. We're satisfied now with having a winning record versus winning playoff games, getting to the championship and winning Super Bowls.
Theo, so let me ask you, what are you suggesting they move on from James Franklin?
I don't know if I'm suggesting that, but I love the mentality, the pressure that they're putting on him where this is not acceptable. We need
but he's been part of the reason why they built it up to this point, though. So,
right.
The expectation level has changed. When he first got there, it wasn't like this. He's created that. So I understand what you're saying, and you're right. Those numbers are not very good against ranked teams, period. He's not very good. But you bring up a good point, though. The expectations are high. But I will tell you this. Florida State came into this year with massive expectations. They were ranked 10th to begin the season. They have been just awful, and people want their head coach fired, and they said they gladly would take Franklin. So it just depends on what side you sit on here. Excuse me. Yes, they have to win more of these kinds of games, and I thought yesterday was there for the taking. I really did. When they built a 10-0 lead, I thought, man, it's going to be tough for Howard, Will Howard, who put so much pressure on himself by coming out saying that he was not taken seriously by Penn State. They could have taken him. They did not. But he used that in the end to his motivation. I think after that pick six he threw, he was really good. And I mean that because there was a lot of pressure on him, and he did what he had to do. A couple of touchdown passes. Now he had the fumble into the end zone. But I think he showed a lot of his moxie in that game yesterday. Let's go to Rob in Venetia. Rob is on right now. What's up, Rob?
Hey, just a quick question, Bob. All this talk about, also hope you feel better here, man.
I feel fine. I just can't talk, which is a problem for what I do.
Hey, week after week we hear about we're in on this receiver, that receiver, whatever. Is there any truth? Does anybody know? Like, are we actually in on this? Or is
well, according to Adam Schefter, it was interesting, Bob. He came out with a report that said they were very much in on Christian Kirk in Jacksonville before he broke his collarbone. So that would have been a higher priced receiver. I'm not sure what it would have taken to get him, but they were in on that apparently. They've been in on a lot of guys. Reports are coming out. I don't know how accurate a lot of these are with all these different receivers. I never thought Brandon Ayuk was going to come here. I never thought Devontae Adams was going to come here. I did think they could be in on a couple of these guys, and one is still out there. Mike Williams, although they have another injury over there to Alan Lazard. He's now hurt. And they just got to win. They still think they're competing for something. I don't know if they are at 3-6. So he's a name that you see out there. And there are others. I think they will come up with somebody for probably a 6th or 7th round pick just to give them some depth in case of injury. As far as the marquee names, I don't think there are that many left. Bob in Greene County joins us now on the hotline. What's up, Bob?
Yeah. I'm just questioning. I'm questioning why he runs 3 up the middle with 3 to 4 yards to go for the goal. The offensive coordinator, I just can't understand that. I mean, he could have scored other than that.
Well, especially Warren was available. He'd just run the ball down to the 2-yard line or 1-yard line, whatever it was. And they never got him involved in any of those plays. They had an offensive lineman, number 71, in motion 3 different times. He missed a block one time. They ran this right up the gut all 3 times before they threw the ball. And I just didn't like any of those play calls. In the end, at 4th down, I would have spread everyone out and created options for my quarterback. I think Drew Aller had shown he had enough in his legs coming off his knee injury that he wasn't afraid to run and move. So therefore, I would have given him options on a run-pass option, whatever the case. But 3 straight up-the-middle runs, you may tell yourself, well, we're going to get this done the old-fashioned way. We're going to stuff it down their throats. But guess what? Ohio State had a different response. They said, go ahead and try, and they did, and they failed. So that was a critical part of that game. There's no doubt about it, and it may very well cost Penn State an opportunity. Although, as I said, in this we're going to have the rankings come out on Tuesday, the college football rankings, which will determine the 12 teams are going to be in this. The first look at it, and Penn State should still be in there because they only dropped from 3 to 6, but they could have hurt themselves with this loss. Ohio State jumps up. Oregon's going to be in there. You know that. Indiana's a good team. How many teams from the Big Ten will they take? Could it be 4? We'll talk about that, I'm sure, in the weeks ahead, and we'll talk about it tonight on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. We'll take a break, come back with more. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call on KDKA+. Erica Stanish is standing by with what's coming up tonight on KDK News. On time, surprisingly, on a Sunday night here at 11.
I'm excited. Yeah, Bob, we have a lot going on tonight. We're just days away from selecting a new commander-in-chief, and Pittsburgh is a campaign hotspot. Both candidates are coming here for their last stops. We have all the details you need to know. Plus, a man is facing charges after a deadly shooting. What police are telling us about the shooter and the victim. We're going to have all that and much more coming up at 11. We'll see you then.
All right. Thanks very much, Erica. Meantime, we have some tweets, and Nathaniel Watson hits me up on KDKA. It's at KD Pompey. Says the Steelers have mostly division games left. I see the Steelers going 11-6 and making the playoffs. And then we have this from Mark DeStefano says Penn State should have beaten Ohio State. Worst play calling of the goal line I've ever seen. Why not give the ball to Tyler Warren? And I said that exactly. As soon as I saw it, I said, hey, they're ignoring their best weapon right there. Meanwhile, interesting this week. Now, the Steelers play at Washington on Sunday, but prior to that, this Thursday, Cincinnati at Baltimore. The Ravens have been installed at 6-point favorites in that game. Cincinnati is underdog. But that's a big game for both. The Bengals have put themselves into a corner here. They started so slowly, going 0-4 at home to start. They're now 4-5. They absolutely need a win, especially against Baltimore. But Baltimore needs to keep pace with Pittsburgh. And if Baltimore should win to get to 7-3, they're going to have like a mini bye heading into the game against the Steelers the following week. So that could be helpful to them. We'll see how it goes. That's going to do it. Thanks for joining me, and thanks for putting up with my voice tonight. I do appreciate it. We'll do it again tomorrow night at 10:35. And make sure you join us tonight for the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. It's on after the late news, 11:35. Mark Caboli, Andrew Filipponi join me. Have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow.